Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Kyle Fergusson. Kyle, we have quite the show today. We're going to be taking our listeners into the PTR, then back to the live game, then we're going to go back to the PTR for the balance patch that didn't go live this past week, then we're going to talk about Halloween and end on some BlizzCon map leakage.
There's a lot to do.
Yeah, which, by the way, you should see your doctor if you're experiencing BlizzCon map leakage.
Oh, man. I got back on track this week, Garrett. It was harrowing. I tried my support main thing. It didn't work out. I had a fantastic time on Stukov, though. Love the guy. Lots of control. Everything I talked about last week. But, you know, the ultimate deciding factor was supports don't tilt in the first place, for the most part. Occasionally, you get the guy who ended up on support, and he was already tilted about that particular decision. But taking my if I may say so, toxic-y self onto support was a waste of my, I don't know, tags, personality, traits, feats, whatever I invested in the past that made me this way.
It's a waste of your personality or your
perhaps
it's a waste of your attitude, Kyle. It's a waste of your attitude. There
we go.
Done.
That's a good way to put it. And being an assassin and being out there on the field, not tilting, has been way more beneficial than possibly any sort of edge I could bring with the support. So I'm sad about it because I really enjoyed playing those characters. Uther as well. They got, other than Uther though, you got some nerfs going around for like Stukov and Morales this week. So it's not a bad time to just sort of let it go and go back to murdering people, which is always what's climbed. I don't know why I trick myself. I do this. I get wild ideas. I want to change things up, but ultimately, it's can you get attacks past the tank, and can you avoid attacking the tank the whole time?
All right, so
yes?
here's what
then you should climb.
Here's what I think happened with you, Kyle. And I'm going to try and diagnose you, and by all means tell me if I'm off base, but I think you forced yourself to play too much Vala, and you course-corrected too heavily, because there are other assassins besides Vala.
That's true. That's true. Vala did break dead even. It was partially relaxing because when Vala would fail, nobody was upset about the pick and no one quoted the draft. But I've just been slamming Zul'jin and Lenore in there over and over again. And if I'm first pick, it's Garrosh. And it's working. I'm back on track. We're getting close to Diamond again. Made that whole recovery from falling down to Plat 2. That was a bummer. And I had a lot to figure out as well. I've been a little lost in this game. And granted, in the end, it all came back to bypassing the front line and killing the back line, finding the best player on the enemy side, like I talked about last week. But there's also been some tilting changes that have happened since 2.0, you could say, but even before that, that I feel like I finally was able to identify for myself. And confusion breeds anger. And now I feel a lot more zen again, knowing what I was upset about and what I'm going to do about it.
What were you upset about?
I'm upset about overquesting, Garrett.
Overquesting.
Overquesting.
So
this particular week, they're adding 2 new baseline quests that are going to release Tuesday into characters. Zul'jin, not upset about that. Love the level 1 quest. Hit people with your auto attacks. Cool, that's what you do. But Muradin's getting one where he is going to gain ability based on hitting people with storm bolts and killing them with storm bolts.
Now, he doesn't necessarily have to be the one to kill them. They have to die within 2.5 seconds of being struck by said storm bolt.
But we take everything into our own hands, don't we?
You certainly do. And, yeah, you're right. I've been referring to... So, we're jumping a little bit ahead in our news, but I've been referring to It's Hammer Time, which is this new baseline quest being added, as vomit-inducing.
It's a bit frightening because you do foresee the future where Muradin chases someone off to bizarre lands, and we have too few anyway, people who want to peel or just kind of play main tanks in the first place, and Muradin can kind of fill that role. It feels like we're about to be running amok with nothing but Artanis as even a Nubarax. You need that zone control, Arthas, Jojo, ETC, and Muradin is now kind of leaking away from that. But it's also the popularity of Nazeebo, which really helped me understand why I'm upset about where this game is going and still have hope on the other side of it. So hear me through.
Okay. All right. So let's state your case, Kyle. State your case against the overabundance of quests taking over this game. Because it sounds like, I mean, again, correct me or embellish, but it sounds like your issue is it's guiding the way we play the heroes that have the quests on them to too great a degree.
Right. And I think it's a really interesting idea to give people like Alarak that ability, because he should be rewarded for hitting combos, and his lightning is not exactly obvious. You have to hit in the middle. So encouraging that is really powerful. But looking at something like Nazeebo, we go back to Alpha, and everyone is kind of a plain doll in a sense. They all have different abilities, but no one really has too big of an edge, and there's no drafting yet, there's no banning or anything like that. So when I'm Nazeebo and I'm on Sky Temple and I'm in the bottom lane, I have 3 abilities on my kit, and I can choose to use them to push this lane, and the objective comes up suddenly. So I push this lane, I could take a Merc camp, I could go join the team fight. But now with the Vile Infection quest, my choice is really stale. It becomes, I should soak. And that's not exactly correct. I'm not complaining about anybody playing wrong here. Just merely that quests are removing playstyle choices, things that used to make us shine out from each other. This Nazeebo was better than that Nazeebo because of play, not because of attention to quests. You layer on top of this what Kel'Thuzad's brought about, which is anger in the community to an extent, because everyone thinks the guy on KT stinks until he suddenly doesn't because he completed his quest. So there's this weird sort of mental switch that needs to happen. But 2, if you get out there and you are 4 minutes done with your quest and you lose that game, that is extremely tilting, of course, because you did everything you could in your power and something crushed you despite all your effort. And on the other side of things, if you're winning that early game with that 2-level lead, Kel'Thuzad is already fully stacked, and there's no coming back from that in some ways, and not in the ways of a sick play like we used to know it. The advantage is too high because these quests have built up underneath the level lead.
So what do you say to the counterpoint of that because what you led with was that you're angry because if, like, say it's a mirror match, which isn't the biggest deal in the world because I'm sure this is more as it applies to Hero League, but one Nazeebo versus another Nazeebo, you don't want the Nazeebo that plays better to lose to the Nazeebo that quested better, but you still have to play a certain way and do it well to complete that quest. What's your retort to that? That it's you're pigeonholing the choice of how to play this hero?
Exactly. I could be a Teamfight Nazeebo, a Soak Nazeebo, or a Merc Camp Nazeebo. And now the one that chooses the sort of built-in kit one becomes the correct choice.
Gotcha. So you don't get to make a choice in your eyes. If you want a Nazeebo correctly, you got to get stacks.
And it's added more farm to the game, which has made it a bit maybe too much like some of our other games, the ones that we have avoided, because of those reasons, and enjoy Heroes of the Storm to avoid. So it's a pretty heavy topic for sure. I don't expect that we're going to get any easy fixes to this. It may be a thing that I perceive that other people don't. But 2-level leads are extremely punishing right now, and it's just been the XP, and it's just been wondering. I've been trying to figure out why in my head that's felt so bad. And now I feel like I finally have the facts necessary and the resolve to plug and play what I want to do now, which is going back to Lunara. Zul'jin's more of the return, but enjoying these assassin heroes that can reach the back line, that aren't questing because it's not confusing me. And that could all be on me, right? At the end of the day, well, Kyle, you just suck at new Nazebo. And there I'm going to say I'm very sad about that because I really enjoy Nazebo, and seeing him everywhere is hitting my hipster genes. I don't like it. That was my guy. And now I'm having to fight him everywhere, and he's not mine anymore. My wife feels the same about Murky, and I know probably everybody who's been playing about from Alpha feels some way about somebody who's changed too much.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think your comments are extremely fair because at the end of the day, it seems like most of the changes that Team One makes to this game is to enhance how many choices you make within a given game, and yet they're burying us in quests.
It's difficult to combine the two thoughts of you have quested well and made yourself more powerful than perhaps your mere enemy, but solo Jaina can still throw the game. When we were all those plain dolls, that didn't seem as shocking because we hadn't built that huge of an advantage over the course of the game. It's like original Mario Party, right? I mean, yeah, there's the steel stars and there's the coin star, but some of those games just went nuts. You could do some really messed up stuff that ruins friendships to each other.
Yeah.
But I do have a big but here, because I do like a design decision they just made. And on Nazebo, actually the guy we've been talking about here, Superstition, they went through and made it have counterplay. So his new Superstition still has the 40 spell armor on it, which is very good against chromies. Lots of good places to draft a Nazebo into somebody who overinvested in spell damage. And it used to be that he took 30% more damage from auto attacks. But that left it very, it's over. Draft is over. You didn't get enough auto attacks. You can't kill Nazebo in an extent. Now, when you auto attack Nazebo, you remove Superstition for 3 seconds. And that allows counterplay by Kel'Thuzad, who's standing there and wants to get out his little weak auto attack, but doesn't know quite what to do with it. Putting in a tank isn't a bad idea. Maybe getting rid of someone's block isn't a bad idea. But that is a good thing. Now there's counterplay over counter drafting. So while I have this fear that we're going to become another farming sort of game so that people can, have their pro raise above you moments over the team fight game we came to know and love, there is an opportunity here to avoid the draft being too strong in future changes.
Okay, that's interesting, because I saw that Superstition change and I just thought to myself, this is the most convoluted, if and but talent I think I've ever seen in the history of this game.
It requires reading. It's very difficult, I think, for us all to catch everything. I mean, look at, Tyrande, who still runs amok and still is putting arrows on you at 20 that are reducing your overall damage. And we had a situation come up in Team League where we lost the game because our Lich King would lock eyes with Ana and just march towards her. And that's not a bad idea. She should be dove, right? But as Lich King marched towards a mind-numbing agent to level 7, reduced his spell power dramatically. At 5, it's intense. You're going up to 75%, I guess, doing caster math here. That is a talent you have to recognize and know about, and winning with knowledge is powerful.
All right. Well, good. It seems like you've gone through a lot of hero soul searching in this last week, dude. This is an intense conversation.
And I don't mean for it to be over intense, but it is a change in the game that snuck up on me and gave me frustration. I hope other people are able to relieve themselves of that frustration by recognizing how the landscape has shifted and what we can do to play into that. If you're having trouble in the new world, if you're not, if you love questing on Nazebo, well, yeah, heck yeah, do it. Like, it's all about kicking butt. But for me, I've had to go back to assassins who don't have quests, or quests that are extremely apparent. It's what I want to be doing in the first place, or I love what I get in the quest anyway. But there's a lot of ways to be led astray.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And like you said, you don't have issue with Zul'jin's talents or new quest that's being added because it plays into his kit and the way he already plays. Kel'Thuzad, very much the same way, although it does inspire rage from your teammates until it actually comes online. But you make a lot of good points, man, and I'm completely with you. I kind of long for the earlier days of Heroes as well, because you keep using the term farming, and you're not just talking about farming lanes. You're also talking about farming landing abilities, farming hits on opposing heroes, which does in a way make itself a little bit different from the competitors, but at the same time, the more and more we head down this route of certain heroes can give themselves a leg up through any type of grindy fashion, we're moving closer and closer to the other MOBAs that are already out there. So why not play those MOBAs? Why move away from what makes Heroes unique?
And it could be as simple as that we have to abandon the middle fight. We've done it forever. Maybe it's wrong now. Maybe when you go in there and, one person goes off in soaking. It used to be that if we sent 3 people in the middle and 2 people went off soaking, whatever happened in the middle didn't matter. But it does because of quests now. And that's a very, very different world. XP in lane is greater than a hero kill in the early game. But those stacks are killing us later on.
Yep. Well, there's a lot of other stuff to cover in the Heroes of the Storm news this week, so let's get to it. Have a new hero to give a little bit of a preview on.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Click the play button, and let's get started.
Junkrat's been on the PTR all week, and we've had a chance to try him out and play him. We also now know his entire damn kit. His trait is that he drops 5 grenades that explode after 3/4 of a second and deal a bunch of damage to nearby enemies. His Q ability is his grenade launcher, but so is his auto attack, kind of, sort of. The thing that sets the Q apart from your auto attack is that the range on it is immense. Chromie levels of absurdity. And they do AoE damage when they explode. The auto attack is your kind of standard auto attack distance or range, but still does splash damage and quite a bit of damage in its own right. Not that much less damage than the frag launcher, at least not as little as I think it should do. He's got his concussion mine on W, which works pretty much like it does in Overwatch, as much as it can work in an isometric game. It blows up, it does some damage, and it displaces. And the first thing I did, Kyle, I put one down in that try mode and tried to see if I could launch myself over a tree, and sure enough, I could.
Sure can. It's already you've mentioned a powerful kit.
Yeah, I'm not even done yet. There's an E to mention, and there's 2 heroic abilities to mention. And one of those heroic abilities, I argue, is infinitely cooler and more terrifying than the one he had in freaking Overwatch and also Heroes of the Storm. But let's talk about his E. He's got his steel trap. Again, just like Overwatch, puts it on the ground. It takes a full 2 seconds to arm, so you can't just blind throw it at somebody and stick it to them. But after it is armed, if someone steps on it, it deals damage and roots them for 2 seconds. And there's talents to have more than 1 trap active at a time. Just starting to feel like a even more annoying Chromie, Kyle. And I still haven't gotten to the heroics.
And you should play him a lot like Chromie.
Yeah, you should. And then for heroics, he has his Rip Tire, as we would have assumed that he has. And it's kind of like Nazebo or any other heroics that kind of leave you out in the open while you're using it, just like it does in Overwatch. He pulls the tire off his back, sends it forward. You control the tire while Junkrat just stays still wherever he is, and you can make it blow up preeminently. It does a good deal of damage and displaces out in a radial fashion. Also does more damage depending on how close to the center the target is. And then his second heroic is called Rocket Ride. He literally pulls out a rocket mount, flies up into the air a la Falling Sword Johanna, lands, explodes, does a ton of damage, and then spawns back at the altar and has 150% movement speed on that rocket mount until he is dismounted.
It doesn't cost XP, and it doesn't count as a death either.
Nope. You basically die. In fact, the first time I used it, I didn't even read it all the way, and I thought I died. And I was checking kill counters and stuff, and nope. I'm assuming the lore of it is he just rides it back to the altar, and poof, you're back, and you now have super speed around the map.
There you go. Maybe he stole a Protoss teleporter, one of those that saves you as a zealot.
Yeah, he terrifies me, Kyle. He terrifies me on a very deep level.
He is terrifying for a number of reasons. Rocket Ride is certainly a good place to put your terror. If you played against Hammer and she reaches level 20 with BFG, you know how painful it can be to withstand the constant siege. Well, what if 10 wasn't such a deficit? Hammer taking BFG at 10 is kind of, lower priority, but getting 20 feels good. At 20, Junkrat can take Rocket Ride's Augment to have a 30-second cooldown on it, down from 100 seconds. Without giving away any XP with this increased movement speed, and with a decent amount, at least a screen's length away, of falling sword maneuverability, you can start sieging keeps, suicide style. And you also, in addition to the damage you do, leave behind the same grenades you do with Total Mayhem, his trait, when you die. Which, by the way, if two Junkrads are dueling, Junkrat, they're both dead if they're in melee range. This is a really hard hit. We're looking at level 1, 250 damage each.
Yeah.
You're dead if you're standing on top of Junkrat.
Yeah, per grenade. That's
Riptire isn't as good as it is in Overwatch because there's not the levels. You could hear it in Overwatch, but you can't really sneak it in.
No, but it can also take quite a few hits.
It does have some good health on it, for sure.
Yeah, it's not as quick to be blown up as it is in Overwatch, which is a good concession.
And the damage is solid on it. It seems like a good ability. No problems there at all. But we talked about him being a bit like Chromie. It's very true. Concussion Mine can sit right next to you, ready to disengage you. But way, way more powerful than that is just running up to the front line, tossing the grenade over to somebody you want to launch into your team. Like the little Garrosh, basically. It's going to be one more person on my anti-Zul'jin list. Stitches, Artanis, Garrosh, and then another guy. It's interesting. And I did land once. What might be the coveted Concussion Mine launch of somebody into the Steel Trap. And if you don't take the talents on Steel Trap, you'll probably be really bad at Steel Trap because unlike Chromie's Time Trap, too many traps, it's visible. It's sitting there on the ground right where someone can obviously step on it. So you put it in a bush unless you're gonna augment it.
That's what I was gonna. I think it's still perfectly fine because you just throw it in a bush, and you can have more than one if you talent a certain way, so that the visibility I think balances out a little bit. But none of that stuff is what I'm afraid of. It's really the frag launcher, like you said, the ability to deal great damage with impunity to where the front line is.
Exactly, and that's the really exciting thing about him as a design choice. The fact that you can shoot over the tank into the back line is darn tootin' powerful.
Is that a new stamp you're just going to give abilities in this game is darn tootin' powerful?
I already got Howdy going on. Maybe I should just stick to it all. I do a y'all. I do a fur. I try not to do the fur. I don't even know where I picked that up. That's like a Virginia thing, and I was there for 4 years.
At a Dagnabbin, we have Yosemite Sam co-hosting.
There we go, and a couple of good knee slaps and spoons.
Love of God. Yeah, I don't know. So you sound very excited. You sound very positive. I am as well. I like playing him. I'm already just dreading playing against him, though.
Oh, he's going to be on my team. Yeah, I'm not. I'm nervous about it.
But Kyle, if he's on your team, then again, the draft and the bands, Garrosh, you're going to have to learn how to fight Garrosh once Junkrat.
No, I'm Garrosh. No. Don't you see? They went through a nerf Stukov and Morales, and Malfurion's just been in through the ringer and back. Scott Johnson, my support is out, I'm sure. I can't imagine after all these changes and Junkrat comes out as favorite Overwatch character. I think we need to change up our roles.
I'm just saying, I think you're living in a rather ideal world because, Kyle, if you are not first pick, you're not going to get the Garrosh. And if you ban Junkrat instead of Garrosh because your first picker doesn't want Junkrat, guess what? You're fighting against Garrosh.
That's true. That's true. And I won't fear him like Garrosh. Garrosh has so much playmaking ability. He's an orchestrator.
Yeah. So whatever the case, one more hero in a row where I think they've knocked the kit out of the park. Yes, I don't like Ana. I feel like whenever I play against her, she's amazing. And whenever she's on my team, we should have had 3 more healers to make up for her. But I think the kit is strong, and the same thing with Junkrat. I am absolutely in love with this kit. Junkrat is one of my favorite heroes in Overwatch to play. I'm just terrified of having to play against him. So I think my personal rule going into next week will be ban Junkrat or take Junkrat.
I think Junkrat's also one of the Overwatch characters that I've looked forward to the most. I do like D.Va. I think she's always been a lot of fun in Overwatch.
Yeah.
I didn't play Junkrat because it felt cheap. So now it's still a little cheap, but it's not as bad, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it coming. It's still
exactly.
It's still busted,
exactly.
But you can see it coming, which is good. No, I'm in the same boat. D.Va, Junkrat, the only that like my top 3, the only hero missing from Overwatch is Reinhardt.
Oh, and we didn't even mention that these grenades bounce off walls. That is a mind-blowing piece of tech, honestly. Next to Lucio, right on walls too. That interaction, it looks pretty solid. The trees don't quite tree. They're more like big spaces. So a whole forest is a trapezoid rather than all the little angles of all the different trees. So it's going to take some figuring out. But you can GoldenEye this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, or also you can use that to your advantage to try and escape it. If Junkrat doesn't launch the grenade clear over the piece of terrain, you can use the piece of terrain to make the grenade ricochet away from you.
And take a level 1 talent that makes it deal more damage after that.
Yes, that as well. Well, let's take a dip into the live game, because there was a balance patch that was on the PTR earlier this week, but it's already live. It's already here. We're having to play with it on the live game, and there's quite a bit to it. So as is typical, let's start off with what we're considering the buffs, and then we'll move into what we're considering the nerfs, starting with Kel'Thuzad. K2, as we like to call him, has had his heroic Frost Blast cooldown and cost, both of them, reduced by 10. As for talents, strip shields, shield amount is up. Icy Grasp now increases Frost Nova's slow by a full 2 seconds, and Chain Link now also refunds the mana cost of chains in addition to its original functionality.
Talent and diversity.
Yeah. Is this actually making you build Kel'Thuzad in a different way?
No, not really.
Cool, moving on. Lunara can now move her Wisp more often. It also takes 1 additional hit to kill the Wisp now, too, by the way.
That's why I'm all over her. I think she's amazing. You can now move your Wisp. I would still love to have full StarCraft controls and set this thing to patrol. I guess this would be Warcraft 3 controls, but
Oh, I never thought of that. You're right. That would be incredible and probably a little too powerful.
I actually haven't checked if you can shift command it, even though it has the full 1 second cooldown. Either way, a second is way better than 5, and you can totally maneuver this thing, and it's flying, so it's not affected by belts on Volskaya.
Yeah. Yeah, I always liked Wisp to begin with, so this is just, I like Wisp, a lot more. Proteus's pylons have been working out, apparently. They have more health. They've been, pumping some mineral iron. Also, his gather minerals talents damage bonuses up. Shield battery shield will only hang around for half the amount of time that it did before, but it's a stronger shield than it was before.
Good buffs to the little guy. He is wrecking it on Volskaya.
Yeah.
There seems to be there needs to be an investment, much like we've said. Braxis, you got to maybe have double tank because you have to hold 2 points at once, or Sky Temple, or lane clear on Infernal Shrines, or you got to get the gems in the first place. So lane clear on Spider Queen. I'm thinking we need to Volskaya. It's time to say somebody who hangs back, someone who's okay, because it's usually the off tank. And Varian sitting there on the pad being like, "Come on, I want off." Or ETC sitting there and he can't do a thing about like Hammer, Proteus, Rexar. Let's make that investment. Let's make that a thing.
I agree. And also, if someone over at Team 1 could hit the button that makes it so that I don't always go against Opprobrius on Volskaya in quick match, I'd really appreciate it.
That's rough.
Karazim, he will be healing for more now off of Transcendence, so keep punching, you healing monks. But Insight also received an incentive with an extra quarter second of cooldown reduction tacked on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
He's
Kyle's still
motorbike.
tilting when he sees Karazim picked.
Oh, it wins, I mean, it's just like you get down. It's the circus, they're without the safety of a net, and they drop it, and the performance is amazing, but it makes you go, why did you do that? Like, I know we won, but it could have been easier.
Because Kyle, sometimes, much like you forcing yourself to play Vala and then realizing if you just play heroes you like Zul'jin and Lunara, that you will still succeed, but it might take a little more effort, if nothing else, than in team morale and confidence in the draft. That's how some people feel about Karazim.
It's Icarus, man. Every time, I feel I'm dad, and we're, smiling at each other, the clouds, and he goes, I can go higher down. I'm like, no, no, you can't, Karazim.
No, just pick Stukov.
Just come back down. And the wax melts, and and he went 7-sided strike, and
I love you, man. Johanna is beefier than before with both her max health and regen increased. Also, her Falling Sword Heroic will now be slowing affected targets for an additional half second, and I haven't even gotten to talents yet. Level 1, Hold Your Ground, has been increased to a 30% shield, and both Roar and Blessed Hammer received damage buffs at level 13.
Johanna seemed to be happy enough. Those who were dedicated to the hero stayed on her, and I've heard good things.
Yeah, Johanna is one of those heroes for me that you remember when she came, it was Leoric and her, and she came out, and you went Leoric, and I went Johanna, and we were like hardcore into those warriors when they first came out. And I know you have since stuck with Leoric. I've abandoned Johanna for because Arthas got super sexy all of a sudden, and I realized that Sonya was a warrior I should have been playing forever and whatever. But Johanna's this hero that I can just come back to, and she still feels relatively the same to me. So I don't know. I've always enjoyed her. She's like a bike that I don't forget. I don't forget how to play Johanna.
And she's my favorite coin bank on Tomb of the Spider Queen or anywhere you have to store something on a hero. She's incredible at it. She has a rhythmic sort of survivability, unlike Varian, which is very like twing, 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 and he's out. And Lich King has sort of an Artanis kind of quality to him, where if you get in that fight, you're not really sure if you're winning or not, particularly if he takes ghouls.
Yeah.
I think Johanna's just really visually simple, and the peeling, while it's not good for engage, it's great for defense, and it gets her out.
Yep, absolutely. Diva, a lot of different talent tweaks and whatnot. At level 1, Rushdown's cooldown reduction was buffed by 2 seconds. Crash Course takes 5 less hero hits to complete, and Pro Move's movement speed bonus lasts for a quarter second longer. Then
I've been seeing a lot more Diva. I think it's based on the skin and has very little to do with this.
I think it has 0 to do with this and 100% everything to do with the skin. By the way, Mech, not nearly as cool as her in her pilot suit, which was the close-up in all the art that we were seeing.
Yeah, it's a bit chunky.
I mean, I don't know what you do, right? Like Diva's, I think you could go back to the episode where Diva launched or hit the PTR, and I said, her mech doesn't translate that great into an isometric game, and I still agree. It just looks awkward. It looks like
maybe too bulbous.
Yeah, it looks like a fat chicken without a head.
Well, it is a rather silly, but totally like Boston Dynamics or whatever they're called design. Like, you can see the robots of the future looking like that. We'd all be super bummed about it, but that's the way technology works.
Well, it also looks like the big old robot from RoboCop 2.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, without the sort of imposing figure of the size in a first-person shooter, I think it does end up looking pretty doofy.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's not her fault. It's the easy to make. She runs through a lot of them. I mean, they can't be pretty.
Very true. She had other talents messed with, by the way. At level 4, Diverting Power only slows Diva for an additional 30% now instead of 50%. It's still slow. It still feels so slow because you're already slow when you're doing Defense Matrix. Level 7, Nuclear Options damage bonuses up to 70%, and at level 20, Stop and Pop deals 200% more damage, up from 150%, and Concussive Pulse's cooldown is 1 second shorter.
The real thing to pay attention to here at home is Nuclear Option is going to be huge.
Yeah.
You're going to die. Run away. Or actually, what's affecting her win rate. Stukov and Garrosh. That's why Diva's not shining right now.
Yeah. You should be running away anyway. But
yeah, but also it's nice to draft a push or a throw to just get that thing out of there.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about who got nerfed. Genji, the Dragon Becomes Me, has had its duration sliced. See what I did there? Down by a quarter second for poor Genji players.
Don't think this is for us.
I think you'll be okay. Malthael lost over 10% of the damage on Reaper's Mark. Baseline. It is now a flat 2% of max health.
They've been gunning at it. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it back when we all thought that was the place to balance. So now he's been worked down in other areas, and this finally hits. Gross.
Yeah. While Abathur's spike damage will be doing slightly increased damage, Ultimate Evolution has had 20 seconds tacked onto its cooldown.
50 to 70. It's a pretty big blow.
Expect to see...
to compare it to, being always on, basically. So it's right, in my opinion.
I agree. Expect to see a lot more monstrosity in your own games with Abathurs.
No!
Sorry, man.
I've got opinions.
I do too, especially when they're on Towers of Doom. I keep seeing it. It Zagara is going to have to be even more cautious now while split pushing. Her max health and regen have both been caught down. Granted, it's by slightly less than 5% for either of those factors, but still it's noticeable. And hey, Kyle, Devouring Maw's cooldown has had 20 seconds shaved off. I guess she gave that cooldown, those 20 seconds to Abathur's Ultimate Evolution.
Oh, well, that's nice of them. I was thinking more she warlocked away, spending her health, but yours makes more sense.
Yeah. And then we're not even getting to the...
Are you happy about that? Devouring Maw? I mean, it's a playmaker. It's an ETC interrupt, and ETC's on the rise suddenly.
I'm really sour about the health decrease. A lot of the times when I'm split pushing, I make it out by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah.
That skin on my teeth has now been removed, and my mouth is bleeding.
I guess she has a mouth, maybe.
I don't actually think she does.
I mean, she's got that front mouth, but, baneling babies come out of there.
I believe Queen's heads are like a weird version of a Protoss face. It's just like carapace wedge. She does have two kind of protruding mandibles that are pointing up instead of down.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're for because there's no mouth there.
Right. The point of that would be to hold on to your prey while your little mouth eats it. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe she absorbed Protoss powers through her feet or something like that. Or am I thinking of Animorphs? Now, maybe I'm on Animorphs now.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Ana. She's going to be doing more damage as her basic attack has been increased by 10%. The interesting thing here, though, is in the dev comments, Team 1 has admitted that they have light stats on high-level Ana play, but they're still concerned and moving forward with small adjustments kind of regardless. They also mentioned that they're paying attention, they're keeping an eye on how Ana's existence is increasing the double support meta.
Yes. Good. Keep an eye on it. I am concerned as well.
Yeah. Brightwing, I quit. I'm just going to leave. Brightwing got smacked when nerfs across the board, man. Over 16% reduction on Pixie Dust Spell Armor, a 37% bonus healing reduction when you take Emerald Wind, and I'm someone who already had to be like strong-armed into ever taking Emerald Wind, and now I hate it even more. And Phase Shield, well, it was good for half a second again, so the shielded mount has also been reduced.
Yeah, you go and mix this with the Morales health decrease and the Stukov health decrease, and then you're looking at Ana's powers, and you're kind of going, but aren't we aren't we double supporting it? Because this is what it seems like double support meta looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get this, because if you make supports not as good, you need another support to pull off what you were doing before, so you're doubling down on double support, but the double support isn't as good. It's a difficult problem to solve is what I'm landing on, and I don't envy Team 1's position to have to figure out a solution. But we haven't even talked about Morales yet, but like Brightwing, okay, at least you're kind of tweaking with some interesting things here. Morales, they just took away health. It seems like a really lame way to address an overperforming hero. Same thing with Zagara.
You encourage dive at that point, and then so you do dive double support, and maybe those two things don't mix. And maybe that's why it's happening, because if you have dive characters, they outdistance the support, so you have to be smart about the way you dive. And maybe it'll just neutralize when we look at it like that.
Maybe, but things move slowly in not pro game land.
Or it could be that Ana's the answer. And there are more answers coming. And we've received lots of ways to reduce healing throughout updates and new heroes now. So I'm seeing Ana a lot right now because she turns off Sonya. She completely negates Stukov, who in her face with this big old, fart is spreading, and then press the button. It's kind of like easy to guess when the button's going to be pressed, and you throw that grenade. Yeah. So maybe in that way, too, double support is dead because Ana. But what if you get Ana, you need another support. And Ana Tyrande is a terror because Tyrande heals suddenly start looking like good heals.
Because they're point and click instead of point and miss.
Well, and they're being point and clicked on enhanced healing people who have received a biotic grenade. Right. Or the damage on Tyrande is so high while everyone else can't heal. So it's messy, and the hardest part is Hero League-wise, at home-wise, it's extra super messy because we want everybody in their nice little boxes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what you're laying on there, man, like when you think about it, you think about Ana and Chromie, and my concerns with Junkrat, the heroes that are kind of recreating the meta or overperforming, or seems like they overperform at the moment, are the ones that are the monkey wrenches. The ones that do things that up until relatively recently we were not trained to deal with. We have not been trained to deal with healing being completely turned off. While albeit Chromie has been in the game longer, we're still getting used to abilities that can completely ignore the existence of your front line, and we're about to get another hero that can do that.
We also got Volskaya, which adds another interesting equation to it. If you favor double support in your strategy and you park two now reduced health supports onto that pad, you'd be way better off with that double tank because you have to hold the thing in the first place. So maybe everything does work out when we think of it based on the map. And now we have some map diversity, and double support's stronger on a separate map than Cursed Hollow, Volskaya, and those places.
Yeah, things are getting changed up, and I like that. And even going back to, you mentioned Volskaya, going back to Probius and how good he is on there, there's Probius, a hero we haven't been seeing in a long time, with a map where he shines.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all this. I don't know. With Zagara and Brightwing this week, I feel personally targeted, so I'm having a personal reaction to some of this. But anything else you wanted to mention on Morales? We already kind of talked about her, but
no, I think it's odd. It's odd.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of nerfing well-performing supports, Stukov also got kind of dinged. His health and regen have also been reduced, which at least in the order of what we've talked about here already is the largest decrease we've mentioned so far, with an over 5% reduction to his max health. On top of that, healing pathogen now heals for a little over 7% less. And then spine launcher talent now makes your basic attacks it takes them to 40% less damage. It used to be a 30% less damage penalty, so the damage penalty is now higher. But that's okay, Kyle, because hey, a quest talent got a buff.
Oh no, yeah, I'm pretty, but I'm a new Stukov. If it keeps coming up, I'll adapt pretty quickly. It's sad for those who have made the investment, particularly those who have really mastered Stukov and avoid spine launcher altogether. their health decrease is going to destroy their damage, because that was that wiggle they got in and got that big auto attack out with. Us newer players, us spine launchers, we'll be bummed that maybe we don't get to 55,000 in a game and out damage our burst, which maybe is for the best in the health of the team.
Yeah, true. Very true. Maybe don't take it and just play like a safe healer that does about as much damage as the other supports in the game.
He's still good.
Oh, yeah, he's fine. It's fine. I'm just looking at all these support nerfs and health nerfs and not happy about it. Hey, we also real quick did mention Garrosh level 20 Death Wish no longer increases the duration of Warlord's challenge. Fine.
Sweet. Not probably the nerf that everyone's hoping for, but I guess.
No, I like Garrosh, which means it'll probably get nerfed soon. And then Nazeebo. Now we talked a bit about Nazeebo's rework at the beginning of the show, but you mostly just talked about Superstition. So let's talk about the other stuff that's happening. His health and regen have also been reduced. Him and Zagara apparently have the same virus. That's, they need to, I don't know, eat some chicken soup or something. The kicker here, though, is that Nazeebo can gain that health back through Voodoo Ritual, as it now gives 2 more health per stack. So I don't even think we mentioned this while you were talking about your concerns with Superstition, further pushing him down this basically the game telling you the correct way to play him, but this furthers that concern, I would assume.
Right, and if the rest of your team is doing well, and of course the winning team deserves to win, but if things are snowballing, the snowball is that much stronger.
Gotcha. All right. In other news with the Nazeebo, Corpse Spider saw a relatively minor damage increase. It's up under a 3% increase, while Plague of Toads saw a significantly larger damage decrease with a 10% loss there. Also, Ravenous Spirit has had its range boosted by a factor of 1. So if you've ever been that Nazeebo, it's just like, I just can't quite reach him. Maybe now you can.
Ravenous Spirit's a great quick match pickup. Often you need to plow through too much support, maybe a Lucio or something like that, and Gargantuan's just not going to cut it.
Hey,
but Gargantuan still seems to be on top.
We had a game that we were winning handily, and then the pile of death just got to be too much. Imagine there was just a Ravenous Spirit in that pile going ham.
Yeah, that's true. That particular instance you're talking about, though, was a nano-boosted Murky, and I don't think any of us could have guessed what we should have done there.
That's very true. I mean, really what it boiled down to is they had a lot of ways to hold us just still while a pile of bad happened, including a pufferfish.
Yeah. And it was actually the first time I had ever noted Colossal Smash Master at Arms level 20 variant having a area effect on Colossal Smash. And you mix that with 3 pufferfish being stacked on top of each other. It was pretty rough.
It was disgusting. And honestly, the coolest loss I've had all month. I know it's only the 12th, but still. Deal with it. All right. Shall we head back into the PTR?
Let's do that.
All right. So, Kyle, last, I think, 2 episodes, I've sung the praises of how I just can't take it anymore and have turned off Allied Chat.
Yes.
And I can't remember if I mentioned on the show, but I know I mentioned to you privately that I really wish I could ping the top bar and it would remind everyone of our level versus their level, or that someone is dead and we should wait for them without having to actually type.
Mm-hmm.
They're adding it to the game.
They are. You just go ahead and just like you're going to ping that top bar, and you will note whether there is a level advantage, a talent advantage, or a deficit. And you can also ping dead people and say Vala is dead, or whoever may be dead.
Yep. So my new one will be, if enemies are dead, I'm going to ping the enemies and then ping the structure I would like to destroy instead of getting mercs.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, that's something we didn't really talk about at the top here, but that is certainly one of my biggest changes I've made over this last week. I've joined the chases. If they're not all dead, we're not taking mercs. I'm not wandering off because I know 2 dead equals a strategic advantage and I can go take a keep. Nope. That is wrong thinking. Murder everybody first.
It's not wrong thinking
in Hero League.
But it is wrong to split your forces to two separate ideas, and it's better to just everyone go in on one idea, even if it isn't the best one.
And this adds language. This is the really important part about it. Level advantage, talent advantage. These things are often yelled into the wind like Focus Morales, but maybe people haven't heard these phrases. And by adding language to something, we gain understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kyle, I've been feeling that I've finally been gaining an understanding about the current map rotation. Oh, wait, it's rotating again.
Well, yeah, it's happening. It doesn't make much sense now. We're down to 3 weeks of map rotation every hero. So it's not really even worth looking for advantages there anymore.
It's awful. It's awful. It is, for me, like, I know you had this beautiful, well-informed list of concerns at the top of the show. Mine is blunt and not that well thought out. The thing I hate the most about Heroes of the Storm right now is the Battleground rotation. It's just pointless. No one is learning anything. By the time you learn something, it's irrelevant.
I mean, here they're removing Infernal Shrines from the rotation. I can see on Junkrat, that might be an issue. We need to know that. This needs to be, it's related to the hero maybe, or let's hold on to it for the whole season.
Yeah, keep it in. We should know that, and you should balance. If there's an issue with Junkrat, that should be addressed. You shouldn't just remove it out of concern. Now, we don't know that that's exactly what they're doing, but it certainly looks that way.
It could be, but Battlefield Eternity, Warhead Junction, these seem maybe an advantage. We'd have to spend more than 3 weeks finding that out.
Yeah, that's not even my concern. I just want to live with a certain chunk of Battlegrounds for longer than a month. This isn't even a month anymore, as you said. It's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I keep running into too many new players, and this is a surprisingly difficult game to learn now, and I think the Battleground rotation is one of the biggest hurdles.
Well, and that's why I focus my conversation, my tirade at the top of the show on myself, because I don't want to speak for other people. It could be as simple as, adding the levels to the quick match screen cause issues. Because now you see 129 and you think something's wrong with matchmaking. Like, this is so multifaceted. But we do need to, let them know. And it's our opportunity. BlizzCon's coming up. Like, let's be on the floor. And when you get to shake hands with a developer, let them know. We can do it nicely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't intend to focus this talk on just new players who are coming in and like, oh my God, what's with all the Battlegrounds? They rotate, and also half the things that I'm playing on Quick Match aren't actually in the draft mode with, because I'm part of that. I have been playing since the beginning. I have been there on the ground floor when each and every single one of these Battlegrounds have been added to the game. But I put a lot of stock into practice, and my practice is pointless, more or less. Any mode besides Hero League, if you're trying to get good practice in on Battlegrounds, is a coin flip, whether you're going to get an experience on a Battleground that is actually going to make you a better player in the points section of the game.
True. And here we are talking about the point system, and I ran a poll on my Twitter, and it's just my Twitter, of course, so that cuts the ecosystem down to people who just follow me. But over 400 people responded, and 78% are not playing Hero League at all, or they're only doing their placements. And that can't be the best system either. So I think a lot of weight is sitting on BlizzCon to help reestablish that trust in the matchmaking. Yeah.
Well, let's dig a little deeper into the reworks we already kind of mentioned at the top of the show. Zul'jin, you want Axe baseline quest talent, or baseline quest being added. Also, his basic attack damage is being reduced because I'm assuming of how you want Axe functions, gaining you basic attack damage.
Like it.
You're doing what Zul'jin should be doing.
Attacking people, and if you can get up to the 150, you get yourself Twin Cleave for free, where those axes revolve twice. This is a little odd in my head, because if you do a spell damage build, which is now looking a lot better, you want twin cleave axes revolve twice, but you're not Tazdingoing, which is probably your best chance to get a lot of stacks. So it's a little counterintuitive for the spell side of things, but in general, the talent tree is much better. In particular, I'm excited about a number of things. First of all, to have 7.7 range if I can complete my level 1 quest. That's pretty awesome. I complete my U1 Axe quest, and then on top of it, I complete another quest where I kill everybody on the enemy side once. And that gives me a bonus 1.1 up to 7.7. So I love it. I need to reach the back line. I got to kill Vala after all and not attack the ETC as hard as I can. Awesome. Very helpful. New talent, Armani Rage. Instantly lose 50% of your current health. Regain it over 6 seconds. Gain 10 armor during that time. Odd. Okay. Why? Well, not really for the auto attacks. It's too fast of a heal, but that's for guillotine. So you can lose half your health, throw out the big guillotine, and still recover that on the other side.
Amani Rage is, I think, an awesome new talent. And when I saw you tweet it out before I even looked at the damn the patch notes, and yeah, this seems like something that should have always been in the game, and that's a compliment. Like, this seems like it just fits the hero.
And he's getting no mercy, apparently. A level 16 talent where his Grievous throw marks make it so he avoids all armor on the target.
Bye-bye, Garrosh.
Could be. Could be bye-bye that Muradin with Hardened Shield. It's a level 20 Cassia talent, but here it is on 16 for Zul'jin. How interesting.
Don't mention all the things everyone has besides Cassia. Don't mention it, Kyle.
We're not going down the Raynor road either, so I think we're already dodging the bullet.
Raynor, Cassia, and Tychus would all like to have a word with Team 1.
I think Raynor would be a great thing to have on the rework for BlizzCon.
I concur. And then Muradin, I don't think we really need to say anything else about Muradin. I think we more or less summed up our thoughts on its hammer time at the beginning of the show. Please, please, Muradin players, when this goes live, continue to tank properly. Don't chase to get Stormbolt stacks. Thank you.
But we didn't say what it gave. And after you complete the stacks, your Stormbolt will pierce. And your auto attacks reduce the cooldown of Stormbolt. So it's a great feature. I mean, if you can spare the front line and the tank, Muradin going off to complete this thing will be very valuable.
Yes, but not so valuable that you should not tank anymore to complete it.
Right. That's the fear.
My big old fat concern. All right. Whew. That was a lot of patch notes. But we made it through without too many temper tantrums by me on the subject of battleground rotations.
Nice job.
It's time to party, man. Hallow's End is coming to the Nexus. We're going to get a new special event called Hallow's End 2017. With it will come a new quest to play 25 games during Hallow's End in any mode except custom games training or Heroes Brawl. And you get to unlock some stuff. We get a cartoon Headless Horseman spray. We get a Hallow's End Warcrest banner, which I have to have now. And then also a Headless Horseman portrait. So if you are like me and you started playing World of Warcraft 2 days before Halloween, Hallow's End's kind of a big deal for you.
Oh, that's cute.
I also got married on Halloween. I kind of like Halloween, guys.
Yeah, you have some things around Halloween.
Just a few. It's
important to note that these are their special own loot boxes. Your loot boxes you currently have will not transform into Hallow's End loot chests, and they certainly won't contain any Hallow's End loot items. However, they did add that at least one item in the chest will be a Hallow's End item when you have the Hallow's End loot chest. So what you can do for now is get your heroes close to leveling and then put them over that level once you have the event this coming Tuesday.
Yep. But please pick heroes you're good at when you're drafting in Hero League for points.
Well, yeah, ideally.
Please and thank you. This is kicking off October 17th, by the way, and it goes through November 13th. So go out there and get it. There's some, there's some fun skins and some fun mounts. And no, I'm not talking about Brightwing. Once again, Brightwing has the worst skin collection in the game. But
yeah.
Did you Gazlo with just a bag on his head with different things drawn on it? Made me really happy.
I like the skeletal horse. That's what I'm after.
I like the skeletal horse as well. I like the horse that just has a blanket over it with a horse drawn on it on the blanket.
Yep.
That's one. I need that one in my life. I need it yesterday.
Greymane finally got a new skin, and its dances get swifty.
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, he's like a mad scientist, like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but with more science.
Yeah. So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Rick
Yeah.
Sanchez. A Dr. Rick, Mr. Sanchez. There you go. There it is. There it is. Calm down about your Szechuan sauce, folks. You're making the rest of us Rick and Morty fans look bad. And then finally, the BlizzCon map was, well, basically leaked this week. So we get to see the layout of BlizzCon, and they're literally for Anaheim Convention Center, or probably not because they probably made even more money. But they just opened a new hall, and BlizzCon has taken it over. This is literally the biggest BlizzCon that has ever happened. Every darn
room. I'm really
room.
sure how it's tied together, but it is huge.
It is massive, and it's spread out all over the place now. Hearthstone in its own just room, just completely separate from main BlizzCon, which just seems strange to me. But it's a large room, and it looks like from the map a lot of seating, so it doesn't look like they're really sacrificing any of the seating around the tournament stage.
And they're mixing it with that fancy tavern they had upstairs last year, which was really good. So I think, if anything, Hearthstone's going to have the best stage room combo.
It's just going to feel like Disney, man. You just walk in and it's nothing but Hearthstone. But the big important thing is Heroes of the Storm has its own tournament stage.
That's true. We're sandwiched in. Overwatch did get the big fancy circle stage that StarCraft was sporting.
We all knew that was coming.
Oh, yeah.
We all knew it was coming. And did you go see the Overwatch arena last year?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. They did a great job. I cannot wait to see what the heck they do with the full arena. And I hope also this doesn't mean that the badass StarCraft stage can't fit into the new hall that it's in, because it's incredible.
I don't see why not. Though sadly, it does look like Here's the Storm is not receiving the Overwatch dome treatment. And it's going to be a pretty normal layout, just like the rest of them.
I think I prefer that because it means more seating. The seating was very limited in the Overwatch arena. It also means that if there are no more seats, you can at least just stand behind everything and watch the games unfold, which I have had to do multiple years for the finals, but not last year because you badasses saved me a seat. But BlizzCon's going to be huge, man. I'm putting hand sanitizer on already just thinking about it.
It's going to be good. And then Con Before the Storm the night before. There's just, it's also focused now.
Yeah. Are you doing a panel again this year on Con?
I am.
I love that we're
on
both.
The Heroes panel there.
I love that we're both on a panel. I don't know. I haven't asked you. So are you moderating?
No. Scott Johnson's moderating.
Oh, Scott's moderating again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So same as last year. So yeah. If you're not familiar with Con Before the Storm, that happens in the Hilton. The Anaheim Hilton the night before BlizzCon. So Kyle's going to be on the Heroes of the Storm panel there. I'm going to be moderating the Hearthstone panel there. I'm not allowed to announce it yet either, but I've got something going on at BlizzCon proper. I just can't say what it is yet, but that'll be out soon. Excited about all of that stuff. So, well, shall we take an email or two and wrap this up?
Let's do that.
All right. Let's also thank our patrons before we do that. Patreon.com/ITN, folks, is where you can go and support this here podcast. Kyle and I do create content for a living, and the Into the Nexus Patreon is one of the big ways that we fund that effort to pay rent while also talking about video games for a living. And this week we wanted to thank Brian R., Brian C., two Brians in a row, one with a Y, one with an I, Roger L.K., Alex G., and Adam W. Thank you so much for supporting Into the Nexus. And again, I'm just going to remind folks one more time, if you are currently a patron, please go check your payment method, as we still have about 40 folks whose payment method is declining. Totally fine if you're done supporting the show, but if not, check it and update it if you could. Thanks. All right, let's take some emails from itncast@gmail.com.
Darkness stopped calling.
I hear the wilds call. Wait, nature calls.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Dirk writes in this week and says, listening to last week's podcast on the YouTubes as I write this, Kyle is speaking about his teams often going ham as soon as his Leoric got garroshed into the enemy team. So here's a thought. What if we tell all assassins to hold their cooldowns until they see something in range that can be killed? Does auto attack only versus tanks sound legit? I'm sure there's exceptions, but could it be a good general rule? I mean, yeah, it absolutely could be a good general rule. I would argue that it already is a general rule.
Yeah, if your auto attack has reduced value because it's not your main source of damage, you can throw it wherever the heck you can. I mean, you got some talents on some characters that encourage non-auto attackers to auto attack. That's always a bit of an odd one. Like you got these odd little Kel'Thuzad Sunfire enchantment sort of abilities that just don't get picked. But on the flip side, you have things like Ice Fury Wand, which absolutely you should be putting out some auto attacks against chilled heroes, which you may have touched a chill onto that front line. It's the only thing you can reach.
Yeah. Or just take Zul'jin after the patch on Tuesday, grab No Mercy. There you go.
We're really confused about supports right now and how much is enough support on the field, but I do feel like we've limped back into tanks aren't instantly exploding land as long as most things are going right.
No, I agree. I mean, Leoric's kind of an outlier. He's still, I feel like Leoric still get burnt down relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And
when we make these transitions, it's really hard to know if you should kill a tank or not, and what sort of effect that will have, what sort of survivability have, what support abilities are going to reign in for them. So I like his rule a lot here. It's one we've sort of imposed in the back. If it has a cooldown and if it costs mana, it has no right being in a tank because that's what they want.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. There's always the what ifs, but I think as a general rule, yeah. Why not? Just calm down. Don't panic.
I have to whip this into myself. Like every game. In fact, yesterday's stream, I moved back from support back onto Assassin, and I had a Spotify playlist going that people were adding to in chat. I asked for Twitter as well, and we built a playlist. It's actually now sitting in the social panel on the new Battle.net launcher if you join the A-Move group.
Oh, good, good. Did you get Darkest Hour Doomsayer added in there?
Oh, yeah, no, of course. You suggested that. I listened to that.
Good
I got some, people were putting Queen in there, Sabaton, like lots of, very wide, diverse amount of music. But the whole point of it was to completely change things. I don't usually stream with music on, so I could be 100% dedicated to stopping auto attack the front line because I'm playing auto attackers. I have to get around. If you're a spellcaster, auto attack them. If you're a tank, that's a little muddled. You should probably be putting it in the back line. Yeah.
This is also just one more example, I think, too, about the concern of quests in general, because I even do it. If I'm like Monster Hunter Vala and my tank gets Garrosh, and was like, well, I could get some stacks if I just fire this into Garrosh right now.
And that's a difficult transition to make. Well, that's why I kind of like the way they did the Zul'jin quest. Because level 1, it's 150 stacks, but at level 75 stacks, you get your auto attack range, the thing I'm after in the first place. So I can stop farming at that point. And I'm farming on the reason I'm taking Zul'jin is one, because I have a front line and I'm happy and I love him. And two, I'm seeing a farmable target on the other side. Arthas, Diablo, because he has forward momentum, something that's not going to instantly dash and get away whenever I lock onto them. But as soon as that quest is done, you got to cut it off. And that's hard because you've been doing it for 12 minutes maybe.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I think it's just, I don't know, it's safe because you never know what happens shortly after that, right? Like the Garrosh could misstep. An opening could present itself because you're reacting to the Garrosh throwing the Leoric and the opposing team may react as well. So save your cooldowns to see what happens. You can probably do anything more valuable than attack the tank if you just wait and wait and see for a second. It's weird to think of trying to kill a target as panicking, but that's really what we're doing. We're panic attacking.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, you and I had a game where we were playing Genji Valera in quick match. Maybe not our proudest moment.
No, but I was having a great time.
We did have a good time.
No one lets me play Valera in draft, all right? So that's my excuse.
Well, and we had to work really hard because the enemy team had a number of things, but including an Uther and a Brightwing. And I had to request that even in this quick match, that our tank, our ETC, dive deeper, absorb that CC so I could actually go in. And once we made that connection, we started winning.
Yeah.
And we're basically talking about the same thing here. It was soaking abilities. And if we can avoid that in our tanks, that's a good thing.
Well, yeah. Well, it all comes back to the episode when you were gone, when Dunk Train was analyzing my play and saying that the biggest mistake he saw me making was not adjusting my play based on the abilities that I saw come out from my opponents. So if you should get more aggressive and try and win the game when you see your opponents use abilities, why would you give that fear up just to get a little bit of damage into the warrior?
Exactly. And that is where you will be punished the most by things like Genji, something with the mobility and damage to execute on your mistake. If you are solo support Uther and you stun Johanna, Genji's coming. Of course, because he's got nothing to be afraid of anymore. His protection will not be interrupted. And that's on you, Uther. I know, everyone else is messing up, but that was your job. This is more of a rant on myself because I've done that before. I'm not actually, there's no Uther I'm thinking of.
I was actually feeling attacked because I have actually absolutely done that before.
And if you absorb that way, I hope you learned from it, but I wasn't thinking of you.
That's totally fine. Totally fine.
But it is a very, very twang for being such a short melee. It is very visual. And if I'm the Genji, I am 100% camping there waiting on that moment.
Yep. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Again, please keep those emails coming to itncast@gmail.com. Thank you again to our patrons. If you're out there, if you're listening, if you feel you learned anything today or in past episodes, if you feel you have gotten value and you want to give value back in return, go to patreon.com/ITN and consider giving whatever works for you per episode to the show. We definitely want to thank also our Patreon producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, and Mythdoll. You guys are awesome. I hope all of you are coming to BlizzCon. And if not, I don't know, I'll mail you a beer, I guess. Get your into the Nexus. Well, yeah, that would be
That'd be so gross.
Oh man. Well, I don't know. If you get a really good bottled beer and you pack it properly.
Okay, yeah.
It'd be good. Okay. Maybe don't open it the second it arrives at your door, but put it in the fridge for a day or two. There you go.
Thinking like just you open up the envelope and a bunch of hops in there. Leaking out the bottom.
I love that you think hops are just in the beer.
Yeah, that's what happens with beer, right?
Yes, there's entire plants in the carbonated liquid. Anyways, get your Into the Nexus t-shirt at shirts.amove.tv. That way we can find you at BlizzCon and accost you with excitement. So get that again, shirts.amove.tv. You can catch us live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. And just memorize AmoveTV because that's where everything is. amove.tv is where you can go to find all of the back episodes of Into the Nexus. This is 187. Next week, Kyle, we are matching the number of StarCast episodes we put out into the universe, which is a big milestone for the two of us, considering that's the show where we started podcasting together.
Yeah, well, you've gone on to Angry Chicken success, but for me, we're now moving into new territory. This will be my longest running show.
I love the Angry Chicken. I love Jocelyn. I love Dills, but you'll always be my first podcast love, Kyle.
Aw, you too.
Follow us on Twitter at ITNcast, where you can see Kyle and I having bromances through our podcast Twitter account. And we got to thank Gorath for our sweet-ass intro music and BrianGriffithMusic.com for our outro music. Kyle, before we go, you do all kinds of things around the web. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. And this week is a bye week. I checked it again. So if you are used to watching things on Saturday, Sunday, you should check out the stream. Team League on Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific. And Sunday will be the Divinity 2 stream continued, an October special. That'll be going away in about 3 weeks, but I am greatly enjoying that game.
I'm, again, I've told you this many times, and I'll say it one more time. I'm jelly. I wish I was in there doing that.
The world needs more co-op, you know?
It does.
I feel like Blizzard used to supply us. Maybe we supplied ourselves, actually, for a long, long time in tower defenses and castle siege games that we made in their system. But, you know, darn tootin', my heart needs more. All right, I did it again. Now it's going to become a thing. My heart needs more co-op in my life. And Divinity is supplying that. You know, I pine to find World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, I do too. It's the same thing. You're right. Yeah. While custom games did account for some of it, World of Warcraft counted, at least for me, the biggest chunk of co-op and building friendships instead of tearing them apart with PvP.
Well, it really, but if I could have one change of heroes right now, it would be that I face the loss screen and my other 4 players don't. Like, if I could just tank that and somehow through some magical means, like, all the enemies explode and they get to rush core and win and feel like winners, that would mean the world to me. Because it's sad to lose, but it's even sadder to invite your friends to lose.
That's true. That's but what are you gonna do, man? I would still rather lose beside my friends than lose to my friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, team games are better than 1v1s.
Yeah. And it's become more and more true as I've gotten older. When I was younger, now, break out Smash Brothers, and I'm going to call you the worst names in my brain.
Well, no, but Smash Bros. Is a special... The fighting games are special. It's kind of what you bring into them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but there was also a time where it was 1v1 StarCraft, 1v1 Warcraft 3.
That's true, but there you're dealing with strategy, and you can have game knowledge. There's a lot of different ways to win, and I think some of us older gamers engage in, checking talents and making sure that, we have this background of knowledge so we don't have to perform as hard because maybe we can't anymore. We don't have the time to do it along those ways. But Super Smash Bros., granted, high school, college, was a special time because everybody was on an equal playing field, and it was all about what sort of skills you brought. It was the throwdown center.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
But then again, I was the guy who was always told to get off his mains. So maybe I was just winning, and that's why I have that memory.
That never left the mouth of anyone in our Smash sessions, and that's because none of us got off our mains. Ever. For me, it was just like Link all day and night. Maybe I'd grab a Kirby. Maybe.
Oh, man. I kept getting pushed around. It was always, you can't play Pikachu anymore. You can't play this. I'm like, okay. And before I know it, I'm on Peach kicking people's butts, and that didn't make them happier. And then I ended up on Wario winning, and that certainly didn't make anyone happy.
Yeah. No, the worst is Zelda. Just Din's Fire, just over and over and over, just juggle them with Din's Fire. That's the meanest thing.
Oh, jeez, you monster.
Yep, that was. If someone did tell me, like when the one after Melee, was it Brawl? When Brawl came out, if someone got angry because no one could beat me when I played Pit in Smash Brothers Brawl because Pit's a busted piece of crap, when everyone would get really angry about that, I'd swap over to Zelda and I would just fire juggle your ass until you Team Rocket it so out of the stadium.
Yeah, no need for Sheik at all in that third iteration. Zelda 100%.
Anyways, folks, I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art, reliving even more nostalgic Nintendo memories like this one. And every podcast I do can be found over at amove.tv. We've got the Angry Chicken for Hearthstone if you're into that game. And if you wanted something that's not game related, check out Embrace the Spoilers because Kyle Fergusson guested this last week to close out Jocelyn and I spoiling the original Indiana Jones trilogy. So Kyle came on and talked about, is it your favorite movie? Would you say it's your favorite movie?
Never mind. I think Aliens. I got to go with Aliens.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. You will hear
but certainly in my top 5.
Yeah. No.
I don't need it as much anymore.
You came on and we talked about Last Crusade, and it was It was up there, possibly the coolest thing I've ever done since I started podcasting.
That's
It
awesome.
was so much fun. I had such a good time. Go and listen. We go all over the place, by the way. We spend about as much time as the movie's runtime talking about the damn movie.
That's true.
So go search for Embrace the Spoilers wherever podcasts can be found. And I'm also actually taking graphic design commissions at the moment. Go to nomoonart.com for my graphic design portfolio, as well as a way to contact me if you need a graphic designer. So come on over, check that out. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. And until next week for episode 188, good luck and have fun.
Take care.